Did your avoidant partner or your avoidant ex blame you for all their behaviors? Did they tell you that you were being too needy, too clingy, had too much pressure on them, that you were too this, you were too that? It's much easier for the avoidant to blame you than for them to take accountability. This goes back to childhood. This is a person that was emotionally neglected by their parents or caretakers. They weren't given the love and the nurturing in the way that they needed. This caused a core wound. This is a person that feels unlovable at their core. They weren't given the love as a child, so they felt like it must have been something wrong with them, that they were defective. It's a core wound of shame. When this wound has not been healed and they carry it forward to being an adult, it affects them profoundly in romantic relationships. This is a person that feels inadequate. They feel defective. Now, if they take accountability for their behaviors, take accountability for the way that they hurt you, if they take ownership of their fears and the things that they do, this would be confirming to them that they are, in fact, defective. So when an avoidant has their fears triggered, they tend to look for external things to blame their fears on. And this usually is their partner. So they project their fears and their behaviors onto the person that they're with. This helps them escape self-reflection and it helps them escape accountability because it's too painful. That core wound of shame is just too profound. It's too deep. It's too painful for them to face. This is a person that's learned to avoid dealing with problems, avoid self-reflection, avoid processing emotions in general. They've learned to suppress that. They were never shown how to process emotions as a kid. They were never shown how to deal with problems. So when they have these stresses that arise and these fears that are triggered, they start going into a fault-finding phase. They start looking for any perceived thing, big or small, that their partner does wrong. And when they find these faults, which they inevitably do because nobody's perfect, we all have faults. When they find these faults, it gives them the justification that they need to not have to take accountability for their fears, to not have to self-reflect. And if they're looking to run away from the relationship, they have their excuse. They found the fault in you. It was your fault. Now, due to this, avoidance, especially dismissive avoidance or fearful avoidance that lean dismissive, they can actually be completely unaware of the role that they play in their failed relationships. They'll often tell themselves things like, well, it must be that I just haven't found the right person yet. When I find the right person, I won't feel this way. And because reflecting on their fears, reflecting on their feelings, taking accountability is too painful, this cycle can continue their entire lives. It's a recipe for a lifetime of loneliness. It's how you become old and alone. They can heal this, they can fix this, but it requires them to want to. No matter how badly you want to help this person self-reflect, take accountability, and learn to heal, this person has to want it. You can't fix them by loving them harder. No matter how badly you want to, and no matter how badly you want this person to heal. It's ultimately up to them. But when they're blaming their behaviors on you, understand this is coming from a place of fear within the avoidant, a place of pain, of inner shame. It is not your fault that they engaged in unhealthy behaviors. Nobody's perfect, and there's always accountability to be taken on both sides of a failed relationship. However, when they behave in an unhealthy way, you didn't force them to do that. That is a reflection of them, their unhealed attachment wounds, their unhealed traumas, as well as their character. When you blame yourself, you're pushing yourself further into anxious attachment, and that is how you actually get into a string of failed relationships with emotionally unavailable people, because you are blaming yourself for these behaviors, which means you're not holding boundaries and you're not respecting yourself, and you are allowing behaviors that ultimately are just not relationship material.